Before we dive in, please remember that the information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional business, financial, or technological advice. Always consult with a qualified expert for your specific situation. What if I told you that you are losing one full day of work every single week to a silent thief? That's right. 8 hours. Gone. Not to long lunches, not to scrolling social media, but to something far more mundane, far more invisible. A study by Smartsheet found that over 40% of American workers spend at least a quarter of their workweek on repetitive, manual tasks. Think about that. A quarter of your productive time vanished into thin air week after week. It's the business equivalent of driving with the emergency brake on. You're burning fuel, you're making a lot of noise, but you're not going nearly as fast as you could be. Does this sound familiar? That nagging feeling on a Sunday night, knowing your Monday morning is already pre-filled with the same soul-crushing routine. Downloading the same reports, copying and pasting the same data from a spreadsheet into an email, manually updating a customer list, chasing down the same people for the same information. It's a hamster wheel. You run, and you feel busy, you feel exhausted, but at the end of the day, you look back and wonder, what did I actually accomplish today that required my brain, my creativity, my unique human talent? This isn't just a corporate problem. It's a life problem. It's the small business owner in Des Moines, Iowa, spending her evenings manually sending appointment reminders instead of designing new products. It's the freelancer in Portland, Oregon, wasting hours creating and sending the same invoice template instead of finding new clients. It's even the PDA volunteer in Orlando, Florida, manually compiling sign-up sheet information into a master list instead of planning a better event for the kids. We are all drowning in a sea of trivial tasks. These are the tiny, seemingly harmless little jobs that on their own take maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. But together they form a tidal wave that erodes our time, drains our energy, and kills our motivation. This is the silent thief, and it has a name: manual repetitive work. But what if I told you there's a secret weapon to fight back? A way to reclaim those 8 hours a week and maybe even more? That weapon is understanding one simple concept: the automation task. Now, when you hear the word automation, your mind might jump to images of giant robotic arms in a Michigan auto plant, or self-driving cars cruising down a California highway. And that is automation, but it's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about something much more personal, more accessible, and frankly more immediately useful to you right now. So, what is an automation task? Let's break it down. An automation task is any single, repeatable action that follows a clear set of rules, which you can teach a computer to do for you. That's it. It's not magic. It's a recipe. It's a set of instructions. Think of it like a digital intern who works 24/7, never gets tired, never asks for a coffee break, and performs the task perfectly every single time. The key ingredients are repeatable and rule-based. If you find yourself doing the exact same sequence of clicks and keystrokes over and over again, that's a repeatable task. If you can write down the steps for that task like a simple recipe: first, open this file. Second, copy the value in column B. Third, open this other program. Fourth, paste the value into this specific field. Then it's a rule-based task. And if it's both repeatable and rule-based, congratulations, you have found a perfect candidate for automation. The problem is, most of us have never been trained to see the world this way. We were taught to just put our heads down and do the work, no matter how tedious. We see a mountain of 100 manual tasks and we just start chipping away, one by one, without ever stopping to ask, wait a minute, should a person even be doing this? That's what this video is all about. This isn't a highly technical, deep dive for software engineers. This is a field guide for the everyday person, the entrepreneur, the manager, the freelancer, the parent, to help you identify and eliminate the time-wasting tasks that are holding you back. We are going to completely rewire the way you look at your daily work. And we're going to do it by showing you 5 crystal clear real-world examples of automation tasks in action, right here in the United States. We're not talking about abstract theories. We're talking about a bakery in rural Ohio that automatically manages its inventory and supplier orders, saving the owner 10 hours a week. We'll look at a real estate agent in Phoenix, Arizona, who automatically sends personalized follow-up emails to every person who visits an open house, dramatically increasing her client conversion rate. We'll break down how a nonprofit in Chicago automatically sorts and categorizes every single donation that comes in, freeing up their staff to focus on fundraising and community outreach. We'll even see how a freelance video editor in Austin, Texas, automated the process of sending clients rough cuts for review, cutting his project delivery times in half. For each of these 5 examples, we will do 3 things. First, we'll identify the painful manual process, the before picture. Second, we'll pinpoint the exact automation task that solved the problem. And third, we'll reveal the incredible after picture, the real-world impact in terms of time saved, money earned, or stress eliminated. By the end of this presentation, you will have a new superpower. You will be able to look at any workflow, any to-do list, any part of your business or even your personal life, and instantly spot the bots hiding in plain sight. You'll see the opportunities to build your own army of digital assistants that handle the boring stuff, so you can focus on the work that truly matters. The work that requires your strategy, your creativity, your empathy, your human touch. The work that actually moves the needle. Because let's be honest, the goal isn't just to get more done. The goal is to get more of the right things done. It's about creating space. Space to think. Space to create. Space to connect with your customers or your family. Space to build the future instead of just maintaining the present. The tyranny of the trivial tells you that being busy is the same as being productive. It's a lie. True productivity isn't about how many tasks you can check off a list. It's about the impact of the tasks you complete. So if you're ready to stop being a human robot and start reclaiming your most valuable, non-renewable resource, your time, then you are in the right place. We're about to pull back the curtain and show you how a simple shift in mindset, powered by understanding the humble automation task, can fundamentally change your work and your life. It's time to fire yourself from the jobs a computer was born to do. So let's start with the absolute basics. What precisely is an automation task? Forget the jargon. Forget the code. At its heart, an automation task is nothing more than a simple recipe. It's a digital if this, then that instruction that you set up once, and a computer follows forever. Think of it like a loyal, lightning-fast assistant who never sleeps, never complains, and never asks for a coffee break. This assistant operates on a simple 3-part formula. First, there's the trigger. This is the starting gun. It's the event that kicks everything off. It could be receiving a new email with the word invoice in the subject line. It could be a customer filling out a form on your website. It could even be something as simple as the clock striking 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. The trigger is the if this happens part of our recipe. Second, there's the action. This is what you want your assistant to do when the trigger goes off. It's the then do that part. If the trigger was a new email with an invoice, the action might be to download the attached PDF, or forward the email to your accountant, or create a reminder in your calendar to pay it in 30 days. The action is the work. It's the repetitive, mind-numbing task that you used to have to do yourself. And third, there's the data. This is the information that gets carried from the trigger to the action. It's the secret sauce. In our invoice example, the data is the sender's name, the invoice number, the due date, the amount owed. The automation task intelligently grabs this data from the email and uses it to perform the action. It's not just forwarding an email. It's forwarding this specific email from this specific person and using the information inside it to create a perfectly detailed calendar reminder. Trigger, action, data. That's it. That's the entire blueprint. Every single complex automation you see in the world, from a self-driving car navigating a turn to a massive Amazon warehouse sorting packages, is built from these simple fundamental building blocks. And the beauty is, you don't need to be a Silicon Valley engineer to start using them. You just need to learn how to see the triggers and actions in your own life. Let's make this real. Let's step into the shoes of our first example. A small business owner in Austin, Texas. We'll call her Maria. Maria runs a successful online store on Etsy where she sells custom-made leather goods. Her business is growing, which is great, but it's also slowly killing her. For every single order she gets, she has a checklist of things she has to do manually. First, she gets the new order email from Etsy. She has to open it, then open up a separate Google Sheet she uses for accounting. She meticulously copies the customer's name, their order number, the item they bought, and the price, pasting each piece of information into a new row, double-checking for typos. Then she opens her Gmail. She finds a template she wrote, copies it, and pastes it into a new email. She manually types in the customer's name to personalize the greeting, then hits send. This is her thank you email. Next, she opens up her project management app, Trello. She creates a new card, titles it with the order number, and in the description, She pastes the shipping address and the item details so she doesn't forget what to make and where to send it. Finally, she adds the customer's email address to her marketing list in MailChimp so she can send them newsletters later. This whole process for just one order takes her about 10 to 15 minutes. On a good day, she gets 10 orders. That's over 2 hours of her day gone. 2 hours of her most valuable resource, her time spent on robotic copy-pasting. It's not creative. It's not growing her business. It's just administration. It's the digital equivalent of digging a ditch with a spoon. And because she's human, sometimes she makes mistakes. She misspells a name. She copies the wrong address. She forgets to add someone to her mailing list. Each mistake, though small, chips away at her brand's professionalism and creates more work for her down the line. Maria feels trapped. She's a craftsperson, a creator, but she's spending her days as a data entry clerk. This is where the humble automation task changes everything. Maria spends one Saturday afternoon learning about a simple automation tool. Think of services like Zapier or Make. She decides to build her first automated workflow, her first digital employee. She sets up the trigger, a new order on her Etsy shop. That's the starting gun. Then she tells her new digital assistant exactly what to do. She defines the actions. Action 1 asterisk: as soon as the new order comes in, take the data, the customer name, order number, item and price, and instantly create a new, perfectly formatted row in her Google Sheet for accounting. No typos, no delays. Done. Action 2 asterisk: simultaneously, take the customer's name and email address. Add them to her MailChimp audience and automatically tag them as a new customer. Action 3 asterisk: immediately after that, send a personalized email from her Gmail account. The system pulls the customer's first name from the order data and plugs it into a template she wrote. Hi customer name. Thank you so much for your order. I'm so excited to start working on your new leather wallet. It can even attach a small coupon code for their next purchase. The customer feels seen and valued, and it all happens the instant they click buy. Action 4 asterisk: at the exact same time, create a new card in her Trello board. The card is automatically titled with the order number and the customer's name. The description is automatically populated with the item they ordered and their shipping address. It even sets a due date for 2 days from now. Maria spent about an hour setting this up. 1 hour. And now, that entire 10 to 15 minute manual process for every single order, it happens in less than 5 seconds. Before she even sees the Etsy notification on her phone, the accounting is logged, the thank you email is sent, the marketing list is updated, and the production task is waiting for her, perfectly organized. Let's do the math. She was spending over 2 hours a day on this. That's 10 hours a week. 40 hours a month. Maria just gave herself an entire extra week of work, every single month. A week she can now spend designing new products, improving her craft, marketing her business, or simply taking her kids to the park. She has effectively fired herself from the job of order processor and promoted herself back to CEO and head designer. The system is not just faster, it's better. It's flawless. It never gets tired. It never makes a copy-paste error at 11 p.m. Her customers get instant, professional communication, which builds trust and leads to better reviews. Her workflow is organized and stress-free. She's no longer just working in her business. She's working on her business. She built a machine, a simple system of automation tasks that runs the administration for her, allowing her to scale without burning out. This is the power of a single automation task, or in this case, a chain of them. It's not some far-off, futuristic concept. This is happening right now in home offices and small workshops across America. It's about identifying the repetitive, rule-based, soul-crushing parts of your job and giving them to a machine that was born to do them. But what if you're not an entrepreneur like Maria? What if you're drowning in a sea of corporate emails, stuck in an endless loop of meetings and follow-ups? Well, our next example takes us from a workshop in Austin to a high-rise office in Chicago, and into the inbox of a project manager who was on the brink of quitting, until he turned his email into a fully automated command center. And how he did it is something every single one of us can use. His name is David Chun. And for 3 years, David's job as a project manager at a major Chicago tech firm wasn't really managing projects. It was managing notifications. His life was a constant, unending stream of digital noise, and his inbox was the epicenter. Every morning he'd walk to his desk with a knot in his stomach, the same kind you get on Sunday night when you know Monday is coming. He'd open his laptop and there it was 100, 200, sometimes 300 new emails. all screaming for his attention. He was the human hub. Every single piece of information, every question, every update from every department, design, engineering, marketing, sales, all of it funneled directly through him. He spent the first 3 hours of every day just sorting, just reading, flagging, forwarding, and categorizing. He was a highly paid, highly stressed out digital mail clerk. He'd forward a design mock-up to the lead engineer. He'd send a budget question from engineering over to finance. He'd reply to a marketing inquiry with a link to a status document he just updated 5 minutes earlier. Each action was tiny, taking just 30 seconds here, a minute there. But there were hundreds of them. By the time he finally finished his email triage, it was lunchtime, and he hadn't done a single minute of what he was actually hired to do. Think strategically, solve complex problems, and move projects forward. He was living in a state of perpetual reaction. He was drowning. He told his boss he was overwhelmed. His boss, a well-meaning but old-school manager, told him to work smarter, not harder, and suggested a time management course. He tried the Pomodoro technique. He tried Inbox Zero. He tried waking up at 5 a.m. to get a head start. Nothing worked. The problem wasn't his work ethic. It was the sheer volume. The system was broken, and he was the single point of failure. He was updating his resume, ready to quit, convinced he wasn't cut out for the job. Then one Tuesday afternoon, while mindlessly forwarding yet another invoice to the accounting department, he froze. He had performed that exact same action, same sender, same keywords in the subject line, same recipient in accounting, at least 50 times in the last month. He wasn't making a decision. He wasn't adding value. He was just a relay. A human algorithm executing a simple, repeatable command. If the email is from vendor X, with invoice in the subject, then forward it to accounting@company.com. And that's when the light bulb didn't just turn on. It exploded. Why was a human being, with a brain capable of creative thought and complex problem solving, acting like a simple piece of code? He didn't need a time management course. He needed to build a machine. That night, he didn't go home and browse job listings. He went home and opened up the settings in his email program. Most of us, we never venture into the rules or filters section of our email. Seems complicated, technical. But David realized it was just a simple sentence, the same sentence his brain was already executing hundreds of times a day. When a message arrives that meets these conditions, automatically do this. His very first automation task was that invoice. He created a rule. Condition 1. The email is from vendor X. Condition 2. The subject line contains the word invoice. Action, forward it to accounting@company.com. And then the magic touch. Action 2. Automatically move it to a folder called Processed Invoices. He clicked Save. It was a tiny change, a single rule. But the next morning when he logged on, there were 3 invoices from vendor X that had been sent overnight. And they weren't in his inbox. They were already in the Processed folder, and he could see they had been successfully forwarded to accounting. His inbox was 3 emails lighter, but his mind was infinitely lighter. He had just bought back a few minutes of his day, but more importantly, he had reclaimed a tiny sliver of his sanity. He felt a surge of control he hadn't felt in years. That small win was the spark. David became obsessed. He started seeing his entire workflow not as a list of tasks, but as a system of logic. He spent the next week mapping out every repetitive action he took. Who did he forward things to? What questions did he answer over and over? What information did he constantly have to look up? He was reverse engineering his own job. He then built what he called his email command center. It was a series of simple automated rules that transformed his inbox from a chaotic mess into a perfectly organized, self-managing machine. First, he tackled triage. He created rules that automatically sorted 80% of his incoming mail before he even saw it. An email from the internal server with the subject, System Update. It was automatically marked as read and filed into a Tech Updates folder. He didn't need to see it, but he could find it if he needed to. An email from his project management software, Asana, with the words Task Completed, automatically filed into a project log folder. A newsletter from a tech blog, filed into a reading folder for Friday afternoons. Instantly, the noise was gone. His main inbox was now only for emails sent directly from a human being that required his personal attention. He had cleared the digital clutter. Next, he automated delegation. He was the bottleneck, so he removed himself from the equation. He set up rules to automatically forward emails. a request from a designer with the words font or logo file. It was automatically forwarded to the lead graphic designer on the team. An email from a junior engineer with the word bug report. It was automatically forwarded to the quality assurance team's ticketing system. He even created a clever auto-reply that said, "Thanks for your message. I've automatically forwarded your request to the appropriate team member to ensure the fastest possible response." Suddenly, he wasn't a gatekeeper. He was an invisible, hyper-efficient router. People started getting faster responses, and David wasn't even involved. Then came the masterstroke, information management. This was the one that truly changed the game. David realized he was constantly being asked for the same links, the same documents, the same status updates. So he set up an autoresponder. It was a rule that looked for emails containing specific keywords like project status, timeline, or latest update. When it found one, it would automatically reply with a polite, pre-written email that said, "Hi there, thanks for checking in. You can find the real-time project status, timeline, and all relevant documents at this link to our shared project dashboard. This link is always up to date. If you have a question that isn't answered there, please reply to this email and I'll jump in personally." Overnight, dozens of emails per day simply vanished. They were answered instantly, accurately, and automatically without him lifting a finger. He was no longer a human search engine for his team. He had given them the power to find the information themselves. Within a month, David's life was unrecognizable. He would arrive at his desk, open his laptop, and see maybe 15 or 20 new important emails that required his actual brain. The other 200+ messages had been automatically sorted, filed, delegated, or answered. The knot in his stomach was gone. He was spending his mornings not on digital housekeeping but on strategic planning. He was identifying risks before they became problems. He was mentoring junior team members. He was on calls with clients, building relationships. He was, for the first time in years, actually managing the project. 6 months later, he was promoted to senior project manager. In his performance review, his boss praised his incredible efficiency, his proactive approach, and his ability to see the big picture. The irony was delicious. He got the promotion not by working harder, but by building a system that did the hard work for him. He turned a repetitive, soul-crushing task, managing email, into a fully automated asset. This is the first and perhaps most personal type of automation task, taking a digital process that drains your time and energy, and teaching a machine to do it for you. David didn't just clean his inbox, he automated his way to a better job and a better life. But this principle doesn't just apply to one person's inbox. What happens when you scale this thinking up? What happens when you apply it not just to internal communications, but to the lifeblood of a business? Its customers. That's exactly what a small, struggling bakery in Portland, Oregon discovered. They were making the best cookies in the city, but their chaotic ordering process was about to put them out of business, until they used a simple automation task to turn every website visit into a perfectly managed, oven-ready order. This little Portland mom-and-pop shop was called the Midnight Cookie, and their problem wasn't their product, it was their success. Sarah, a graphic designer by day, and Tom, a line cook by night, had started it as a side hustle. Their specialty? Giant gooey half-pound cookies delivered warm, right to your door, but only between 7 p.m. and midnight. It was a genius concept for a city full of night owls, students, and late-shift workers. Word spread like wildfire on social media. One food blogger called their sea salt chocolate chunk a life-altering experience. Suddenly their phones were blowing up, and that's where the chaos began. They didn't have a sophisticated e-commerce site. They had an Instagram page, a basic website with a phone number, and an email address. Orders came in through every possible channel. Instagram DMs with vague requests like, "2 of the good ones for tonight." Emails with long, rambling stories about their day, with the order buried somewhere in the 3rd paragraph. Voicemails left at 3 a.m., sometimes garbled, with a callback number that was hard to understand. Sarah and Tom were living in a nightmare of manual data entry. Every single order had to be found, deciphered, and then handwritten onto a sticky note. A yellow sticky note for a chocolate chunk, a pink one for snickerdoodle, a blue one for oatmeal raisin. Their tiny apartment kitchen, the headquarters of the Midnight Cookie, was covered in a rainbow of paper squares. They'd stick them to the fridge, the cabinets, the microwave. It was a system built on hope and adhesive, and it was failing spectacularly. One night, a huge order for a law firm working late, 24 cookies got lost. The DM was seen, but the sticky note was never written. The firm called angry and cookieless. A week later, Tom misheard a voicemail and delivered cookies to 123 North Elm Street instead of 123 South Elm Street. The customer, who was waiting on their porch, never got their order. They were getting one-star reviews that had nothing to do with their amazing cookies, but everything to do with their disastrous process. They were exhausted, losing money, and on the verge of giving up on their dream. They were drowning in what we call unstructured data. DMs, emails, voicemails. It's all just a messy pile of information. The core task they needed to perform was simple: get an order from a customer to the oven. But the manual labor required to bridge that gap was destroying them. This is where the first and perhaps most fundamental type of automation task comes in. It's called data entry and organization. Its job is to take messy, unstructured information and turn it into clean, organized, and actionable data. Sarah, crying over a burnt batch of cookies after realizing she'd mixed up 2 orders, had an epiphany. She was a graphic designer. She designed websites for a living. Why was she running her own business on sticky notes? That night she didn't bake. She built. She created a simple, clean, one-page order form on their website using a free tool like Google Forms or JotForm. It had clear fields: name, address, phone number, email, and then the important part: a drop-down menu for each cookie type with a quantity box next to it. No more guessing. No more deciphering. The customer had to give them the exact information they needed in a structured way. This form was the trigger. Remember that from our definition? A trigger is the event that kicks off the automation. In this case, the trigger is a customer hitting the Submit Order button. But a form by itself doesn't solve the problem. It just puts the information in one place. The magic, the automation, is what happened after the customer hit Submit. Sarah used a simple, no-code automation tool, something like Zapier or Make. These tools are like digital Lego blocks. They let you connect different apps and tell them what to do without writing a single line of code. She created a workflow, a set of automated actions that would fire every single time that trigger occurred. Here's exactly what that first automation task looked like. Action number 1. As soon as the order was submitted, the information was instantly and automatically sent to a Google Sheet. A spreadsheet. This became their master order list. A new row appeared in real time for every single order. It had a column for the customer's name, a column for their address, a column for their phone number, and a column for exactly what they ordered. The rainbow of sticky notes was gone, replaced by a single, clean, organized screen that Tom could have on a tablet in the kitchen. He could see every order in chronological order. Nothing could get lost. He could mark them as baking, out for delivery, and completed. The chaos was replaced with clarity, but she didn't stop there. Action number 2. The automation also sent a text message directly to Tom's phone. It didn't contain the whole order, just the most critical information. New order: 2 chocolate chunk, 1 snickerdoodle. Address: 455 Maple Lane. This was the alert. No more constantly checking their email or Instagram DMs to see if a new order had come in. He could focus on baking, and his phone would buzz with a simple, clear notification the second a new order was ready to be prepped. It was a digital tap on the shoulder, telling him exactly what to do next. This was already a game changer. It solved their internal organization problem. But the third action is what transformed their customer service from a 1-star disaster to a 5-star experience. Action number 3. The moment the customer hit Submit, the automation instantly sent them a personalized confirmation email. It pulled the customer's name and their specific order details from the form they just filled out. The email said, "Hey Jessica, we've got your order for 2 sea salt chocolate chunk cookies. We're firing up the oven now. Your order will be at your door, warm and gooey, within the hour. Thanks for supporting the Midnight Cookie." Think about the psychological impact of that. The customer goes from wondering, did they get my DM? To feeling total confidence. They know their order was received. They know it's correct. They're not just a customer anymore. They're part of a smooth, professional process. It completely eliminated the anxiety and uncertainty that was leading to all those bad reviews. This single automation task with 1 trigger and 3 simple actions saved their business. It cost them practically nothing to set up, maybe $20 a month for the automation tool. But the return was immeasurable. They stopped losing orders. Their delivery times became more accurate. Their online reviews shot back up to 5 stars. They had more time and energy to do what they loved: baking incredible cookies. They even had the bandwidth to start experimenting with new flavors. The business wasn't running them anymore. They were running the business. This is the power of a simple automation task. It's not about giant robots or complex artificial intelligence. It's about identifying a repetitive, manual soul-crushing process and building a simple digital machine to do it for you. Find the trigger, define the actions. For the midnight cookie, it was turning the chaos of customer communication into a perfectly organized, oven-ready production line. It took a business on the brink of failure and set it up to scale. This is a classic small business example, but this exact same principle of data entry and organization applies everywhere. It applies to freelancers tracking client leads, to marketing teams processing webinar signups, to HR departments onboarding new employees. The tools might change, but the concept is identical. Take messy information from one place and automatically organize it into a structured format in another. But automation isn't just for businesses. What if you could apply these same principles to your own life? To your personal productivity? What if an automation task could eliminate the small, repetitive decisions you have to make every single day, freeing up your mental energy for the things that actually matter? Our next example moves out of the kitchen and into the home office of a busy project manager in Chicago. He was constantly late, always rushing, and felt like his mornings were a frantic race against the clock, until he built a personal automation that planned his entire day before he even got out of bed. His alarm would blare at 6 a.m., and from that moment it was pure chaos. He'd grab his phone, squinting at the screen, and begin the digital scavenger hunt that so many of us know all too well. First, the calendar app. What meetings did he have today? Where were they? Who was attending? Okay, a 9 a.m. with the marketing team downtown. Then he'd jump to his email. A flood of overnight messages. He'd frantically scan for anything with a red urgent flag, his brain trying to triage the digital fires before his feet even hit the floor. Next, over to the project management tool Asana in his case. Which tasks were overdue? What new assignments came in from his team in Europe? 2 more things to add to the mental to-do list. Then a quick check of the weather app. Is it a coat day? An umbrella day? Chicago weather is a beast of its own, and getting it wrong could ruin your whole afternoon. Finally, he'd open Google Maps to check the traffic. How bad was the Kennedy Expressway this morning? When did he actually need to leave to make that 9 a.m. meeting? By the time he was pouring his first cup of coffee, his mind was already exhausted. He was overloaded with fragmented information from 5 different apps. He hadn't accomplished a single thing, but he was already behind, already stressed, his cortisol levels already spiking. His mornings weren't a launchpad for a productive day. They were a frantic exercise in damage control. This is the silent productivity killer for the modern professional. It's not the work itself that burns us out. It's the overhead of managing the work. It's the constant context switching, the mental energy we spend just figuring out what we're supposed to be doing. Our project manager, let's call him David, felt this in his bones. He was great at his job, but he was terrible at starting his day. The change came not from a new productivity app or a time management seminar, but from a simple, powerful idea. He realized all the information he needed every morning already existed. It was all there, living in the cloud, accessible through something called an API, an application programming interface. Think of an API as a secret menu for an app. It's a way for different software programs to talk to each other and exchange information in a structured way, without a human needing to click around and copy-paste. David realized he didn't have to be the frantic messenger running between all these digital kingdoms. He could build a little robot and automation to do it for him. So he did. He created what he called his automated daily briefing, and it is by far the most sophisticated and life-changing example of a personal automation task we've looked at. It's a masterpiece of efficiency. Here's how it works. The entire process is kicked off by a single simple trigger time. Every single morning at 5 a.m., while David is still asleep, the automation wakes up and gets to work. It's like a silent, digital butler preparing his day. First, it enters the information gathering phase. The automation simultaneously reaches out to all those different apps David used to check manually. It connects to his Google Calendar API and pulls every event scheduled for that day. It doesn't just grab the name and time. It gets the location, the list of attendees, and any notes or video conference links included in the event. Next, it connects to the Asana API. It requests a list of all tasks assigned to him that are due today. It also asks Asana to sort them by project and priority level, so the most critical items are right at the top. Then it moves to his Gmail account. Now, it doesn't read all his emails, that would be overwhelming. Instead, David configured it to be smart. It uses the Gmail API to search for any unread emails that arrived in the last 12 hours only from a specific list of VIPs: his direct boss, his top 3 clients, and the head of the department. It ignores everything else. This separates the truly urgent signal from the noise. After email, it connects to the Slack API. Again, it's not pulling every cat gif and random conversation. It's surgically precise. It checks only for direct messages sent to him, or any time his username was mentioned in one of his high-priority channels. Finally, it makes 2 calls to the outside world. It connects to a weather API to get the detailed forecast for his zip code in Chicago, temperature, chance of precipitation, and wind speed. And it connects to the Google Maps Distance Matrix API. This is the really clever part. It takes the location of his home and the location of his first in-person meeting from his calendar and asks Google for the current real-time travel time with traffic. Not the average time, but the actual time it would take to drive right now. So within about 60 seconds, the automation has gathered a perfect, comprehensive snapshot of David's day. It has his schedule, his priorities, his urgent communications, his weather forecast, and his real-time commute. In the past, this is the point where David's brain would be melting down trying to piece all this together. But now, the second and most magical phase of the automation begins: synthesis. The automation takes all of this raw data, the calendar events, the task lists, the email snippets, the traffic data, and bundles it up. It then sends it all in a single request to another API, this time for an AI language model like the one that powers ChatGPT. The instruction it gives the AI is simple. You are an executive assistant. Take the following data and write a clear, concise, and actionable daily briefing for a busy project manager named David. Start with a summary of the day, then list the schedule with travel times included. Follow with a prioritized to-do list, and finish with any urgent communications and the weather forecast. The tone should be professional but encouraging. The AI processes everything in seconds and generates a beautifully written, natural language summary. It's not just a list of data points, it's a coherent narrative for the day. This brings us to the final phase, delivery. The automation takes the AI-generated text and formats it into a clean, easy-to-read email. The subject line is always the same: your daily briefing for today's date. It sends this email to David's inbox. At the exact same time, it sends a condensed version of the briefing as a push notification directly to his phone. Now, picture David's new morning. His alarm goes off at 6 a.m. He gets up, walks to the kitchen, and starts his coffee. He picks up his phone, but instead of opening 5 different apps, he opens one email. It reads something like this: Good morning, David. Today is Tuesday, October 26th. You have a busy but manageable day ahead with 3 meetings and 4 priority tasks. Your first meeting is downtown at 9 a.m. And with current traffic, you should leave no later than 8:15 a.m. Here is your schedule. He scrolls down. He sees his calendar laid out cleanly. He sees his Asana tasks, already prioritized for him. He sees a snippet of the email his boss sent him at 2 a.m., so he's already prepared to discuss it. He sees that he needs an umbrella because there's a 70% chance of rain after 3 p.m. The chaos is gone. The mental load has vanished. In the 5 minutes it takes to drink his first cup of coffee, he has a complete, holistic understanding of his entire day. He isn't reacting to a storm of information anymore. He's standing on the shore, watching the tide, and knows exactly how to navigate it. He is proactive, prepared, and in control. This single automation task didn't just save him 15 minutes of frantic scrolling. It fundamentally changed the entire tone of his day, his week, and ultimately, his performance at work. It replaced anxiety with intention. This is the ultimate power of a well-designed automation task. It's not about being lazy, it's about being smart. It's about delegating the robotic, repetitive, and soul-crushing work of information gathering to an actual robot, so your human brain can focus on what it does best: creative problem-solving, strategic thinking, and connecting with other people. It's about buying back your most valuable and non-renewable resource: your time and your mental energy. So how do you actually buy back that time? It sounds great in theory, but what does it look like on a Tuesday afternoon when you're swamped with a to-do list a mile long? Let's tear this idea out of the clouds and plant it firmly on the ground with our first real-world example. Let's meet Sarah. Sarah lives in Austin, Texas, and she runs a small but growing business on Etsy. She makes beautiful, hand-tooled leather wallets. Her craft is impeccable. Her 5-star reviews are piling up, and orders are flooding in. This is the dream, right? Well, it's starting to feel like a nightmare, because for every single wallet she sells, Sarah has to manually perform a soul-crushing, 5-step administrative dance. First, a new order notification dings on her phone. She has to stop what she's doing, often in the middle of a delicate leather stamping process, and open her laptop. Second, she has to manually create a new invoice for that customer in her accounting software, QuickBooks. She copies and pastes the name, the address, the item SKU, the price. Third, she opens a separate, clunky Google Sheets spreadsheet she built to track her inventory, finds the correct wallet style, and manually decreases the stock count by 1. Fourth, she drafts and sends a personalized, "Thank you for your order" email to the customer, because good customer service is everything. And finally, fifth, she navigates to the USPS website, copies and pastes the address all over again, and creates a shipping label. Each time, this entire dance takes her about 15 minutes. That doesn't sound like much, does it? But Sarah is now getting 20 orders a day. 15 minutes times 20 orders is 300 minutes. That is 5 hours. Every single day, before she's even touched a piece of leather, packed a single box, or thought about designing a new product, Sarah spends 5 hours doing the exact same mind-numbing copy-paste routine. She's drowning in success. She's working 14-hour days, her passion is turning into resentment, and she's making mistakes. Shipping orders to the wrong address, forgetting to update her inventory, which leads to selling items she doesn't even have in stock. This is the perfect scenario for an automation task. Sarah doesn't need to hire an assistant she can't yet afford. She needs a digital assistant. She needs to build a simple workflow using a tool like Zapier or Make. These are platforms that act like a universal translator between all the different apps she uses. Here's what her new reality looks like. We start with a trigger. Think of it like the first domino. For Sarah, the trigger is a new order is placed on Etsy. That's it. That one event now sets off a chain reaction that happens in milliseconds, without her lifting a finger. The moment that Etsy order comes in, the first action fires. The system automatically takes the customer's data and creates a perfectly formatted invoice in QuickBooks. Done. Simultaneously, the second action fires. It connects to her Google Sheets inventory tracker, finds the exact product that was sold, and subtracts 1 from the quantity. Her inventory is now always instantly up to date. Done. A third action fires. It takes a pre-written email template Sarah created, automatically pulls the customer's first name from the order to personalize it, "Hi James," and sends that beautiful thank you email from her business account. Done. And a fourth action fires. It sends all the shipping information directly to a service like ShipStation or Pirate Ship, creating a shipping label that's batched with all her other orders, ready for her to print at the end of the day with a single click. Done. The entire 5-step, 15-minute process per order is now completely and totally automated. It happens in the background while she's enjoying her morning coffee, or more importantly, while she's actually crafting the beautiful products her customers are paying for. Those 5 hours of daily administrative quicksand? They have been given back to her. That's an extra 25 hours a week. That's a part-time job's worth of time, handed back to the business owner. She's not just getting time back, she's getting her brain back. The mental energy she used to burn just keeping track of everything is now free to be creative, to design new products, to market her business on social media, to actually grow her company instead of just surviving it. That is the power of a single, well-designed automation task. It's not about replacing Sarah, it's about unleashing her. Now let's shift gears from a creative solopreneur in Texas to the corporate world. Let's head to a high-rise in Chicago and meet Mark. Mark is a regional sales manager, and he is a classic example of someone who is incredibly good at his core job, building relationships, understanding client needs, and closing deals, but is being completely suffocated by the logistics surrounding that job. Mark's biggest bottleneck is scheduling. Specifically, scheduling initial discovery calls with potential new clients. His process is a painful multi-email volley that we've all experienced. He sends an email. "Hi potential client, I'd love to connect. Are you free sometime next week?" They reply a day later. "Sure, how about Tuesday at 2 p.m. Central?" Mark checks his calendar. "Nope, he's in another meeting." He replies, "Unfortunately, I'm booked then. Would Wednesday at 10 a.m. or 4 p.m. work?" They reply another day later. 10 a.m. works. He finally creates the calendar invite and sends it over. This agonizing back and forth for a single 30-minute meeting can take 3 days and half a dozen emails. Now multiply that by the 15 or 20 initial calls he needs to book every single week. It's an infuriating time waster, and it makes him look disorganized. And the administrative burden doesn't stop there. After each call, he has to manually log his notes into their company CRM, Salesforce. Then he has to write and send a follow-up email summarizing their conversation. Then, he has to create a task for himself in that same CRM to remember to check in with them in 7 days. If he has 5 calls in a day, that's another hour or 2 of pure repetitive admin work. He's constantly forgetting to log a note or send a follow-up, and valuable leads are slipping through the cracks. Mark's problem can be solved with a few interconnected automation tasks. First, the scheduling nightmare. Mark signs up for a tool like Calendly or HubSpot meetings. He connects it to his work calendar so it knows his real-time availability. Now, instead of that vague, multi-step email dance, he simply includes a link in his email signature that says, "Ready to talk? Pick a time that works for you here." The automation task is triggered the moment a potential client clicks that link. Action 1. The client sees Mark's calendar with all his available slots. They pick one that works for them. No back and forth. Action 2. The system instantly and automatically creates the event on both of their calendars. Action 3. It also automatically generates and includes a video conference link from Zoom or Google Meet. The entire process of scheduling a meeting is reduced from 3 days of emails to about 30 seconds of clicking for the client. Mark does nothing. He just sees a new meeting appear on his calendar like magic. Now, for the post-call automation. The system is already connected to his company's Salesforce account. So, when that meeting is officially booked by the client, another trigger fires. A new action automatically creates a contact record in Salesforce for that person, pre-populating it with their name and email. It even creates an opportunity record associated with the meeting. All the basic data entry is done for him before the call even starts. After the call, Mark finishes his notes. He clicks a single button in Salesforce. Mark is complete. This is his new trigger. The moment he clicks that button, a new workflow kicks in. An action sends a pre-written follow-up email template. It can even be personalized by pulling the client's name from the Salesforce record. "Hi Jane, great speaking with you today. As promised, here's the summary of our discussion." And another final action automatically creates a new task assigned to Mark in Salesforce, with the due date set for exactly 7 days from today, titled, "Follow Up with Jane Smith." Look at the transformation. The scheduling process went from a multi-day headache to a 30-second, self-service action for the client. The data entry is done automatically. The follow-up email is sent instantly. The reminder to check in again is created without him having to think about it. Mark is no longer a secretary. He is a high-powered sales professional. All of his mental energy can be focused on the human side of the equation, listening to the client on the call, crafting the perfect proposal, and building genuine rapport. The machine handles the logistics, he handles the relationship. And that's the real magic, isn't it? Freeing up human potential. But what happens when the logistics aren't just scheduling emails, but managing something far more complex, something physical, something that powers our entire economy? What happens when an automation task needs to coordinate thousands of moving parts across a space the size of 20 football fields to get a single product from a shelf to your front door in less than 24 hours? Welcome to our fourth real-world example, the modern American fulfillment center. This isn't your grandfather's dusty warehouse. It's a symphony of automation, a meticulously choreographed ballet of robots, conveyor belts, and intelligent software. And it all starts with a single simple human action. Let's meet Sarah. She's in Austin, Texas, scrolling on her phone during her lunch break. She's been eyeing a new high-end coffee maker. She reads a few reviews, compares prices, and finally she taps the button. Buy now. For Sarah, the transaction is over. For our automation task, the performance has just begun. That single tap, that packet of data containing her order, travels at the speed of light from Austin to a massive, nondescript building just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. Inside this building, the digital command is instantly translated into a physical mission. The system knows exactly where that specific model of coffee maker is located among millions of other items. It's in aisle 117, shelf D, bin 4. But a human worker doesn't get a notification to go walk to aisle 117. That would be wildly inefficient. Instead, the command goes to a small, squat, orange robot that looks like a giant hockey puck. Let's call it Unit 734. 4 hours, Unit 734 has been sitting quietly in a charging station, waiting. Now it whirs to life. It lifts itself a fraction of an inch and begins to glide across the polished concrete floor. It's not driving randomly. It's following a grid of QR codes on the floor, a digital roadmap that its scanners read thousands of times per minute. It communicates wirelessly with a central traffic control system, a master AI that's like an air traffic controller for thousands of these robots at once, ensuring they never collide, always taking the most efficient path. Unit 734 zips through the cavernous space, navigating a maze of identical-looking shelving units. But these aren't normal shelves. These are gigantic pods weighing up to 1,000 pounds, filled with everything from books to blenders to dog food. The robot doesn't care what's on them. Its only job is to get to the pod located at grid coordinate X42, the pod that holds Sarah's coffee maker. It arrives, slides underneath the massive shelving unit, and with a powerful screw drive mechanism, it lifts the entire 1,000-pound pod off the ground. Now it's on the move again. It's not taking the pod to a packing station. It's taking it to a human. This is the first critical human-robot partnership. A worker, let's call him David, is standing at a stationary workstation. He doesn't spend his day walking 10 to 15 miles across a concrete floor. He stands in one place as a steady stream of robots like Unit 734 bring the shelves directly to him. A light beam from his station points to the exact location on the shelf. Aisle 117, Shelf D, Bin 4. David reaches in, grabs the coffee maker and scans its barcode. The screen in front of him flashes green. It's the right item. He places the coffee maker into a yellow plastic tote on a conveyor belt next to him. The moment he scans it, Unit 734 gets a new command. The system knows the coffee maker has been picked. The robot doesn't need to wait. It turns and carries its 1,000-pound pod back into the maze, ready to be summoned for the next order. David, meanwhile, is already facing a new pod, brought by a different robot, with a light pointing him to a box of protein bars for a customer in San Diego. His job has been transformed by automation. He's no longer a hunter-gatherer, searching aisles for items. He's a focused stationary expert, verifying and sorting items at a pace that would have been unimaginable a decade ago. The machine does the grueling physical labor of transport. The human performs the dexterous task of picking and quality control. Now let's follow Sarah's coffee maker. It's in that yellow tote, and it has just entered the facility's circulatory system. A mind-bogglingly complex network of conveyor belts that stretches for over 10 miles inside this single building. This isn't just a simple belt. It's an automated superhighway. As the tote zips along, it passes under scanners that read its unique barcode every few feet. The system knows this tote is for Sarah's order. It knows this order contains only one item, and it knows the item's dimensions and weight. It needs to get to a packing station. The tote travels up ramps, around corners, and merges with other lanes of traffic, a river of yellow plastic carrying thousands of different products. When it reaches the correct junction, a pneumatic arm, a pusher, activates with a soft hiss of air, diverting the tote down a specific chute towards a packing station. This happens hundreds of times a second, a perfectly timed ballet of boxes being sorted by a central computer that sees the entire system at once. The tote arrives at another workstation, this one belonging to a packer named Maria. But even her job is augmented by automation. The system has already calculated the perfect box size for the coffee maker. A machine automatically unfolds a flat piece of cardboard into a box and sends it down the line to her. Maria takes the coffee maker from the tote, places it in the box, and adds a piece of air pillow dunnage for protection, which is dispensed from a machine above her head. She pushes the box onto another belt. This is where the final and perhaps most impressive automation task kicks in. The unsealed box goes through a machine that automatically applies the perfect length of packing tape to both the top and the bottom. It then slides onto a scale which weighs it instantly. This is called weigh in motion. The system checks if the weight matches the expected weight of the coffee maker plus the box and tape. If it's off by even a few ounces, it gets flagged and diverted for a human to inspect. It's a near-perfect quality control check. Assuming the weight is correct, it continues on. A label printer, timed to the precise millisecond, prints Sarah's shipping label, and an automated arm applies it perfectly to the top of the box. This single label contains her address, a tracking number, and crucial routing information for the shipping carrier. The box is now officially a package. But it's not done. It gets back on the main conveyor highway, but this time, it's being sorted for departure. Scanners read the zip code on the label, 7-8-7-0-1. Austin, Texas. The central computer knows that all packages going to the Austin area need to go out on truck bay 53. As Sarah's package travels down the line, a series of automated diverters, like flippers in a pinball machine, guide it along the correct path. It joins hundreds of other boxes all bound for Central Texas, and finally, it's sent down a spiral chute that leads directly into the back of a waiting semi-trailer at Bay 53. A human worker inside the truck stacks the box, building a solid wall of packages ready for the long haul. Let's just pause and think about what just happened. From Sarah's tap on a phone in Austin, a robot in Phoenix was dispatched, a human picked an item, a 10-mile conveyor system transported it, another human packed it, and a series of automated machines sealed, weighed, and labeled it before sorting it onto the correct truck. The entire process from click to truck might have taken as little as 30 minutes. This is the automation task of modern logistics. It's a system that delivers unparalleled speed, staggering accuracy, and operates on a scale that is simply not possible with human labor alone. It's the hidden engine behind our on-demand economy, the reason we can expect almost anything to arrive at our door with breathtaking speed. This entire physical symphony, from a click in Texas to a box on a truck in Arizona, was orchestrated by incredibly sophisticated software managing a physical world. But what happens when the automation isn't just moving things that already exist, but is actually helping to create them? When it's not just fulfilling an order, but helping to design the product itself. That's where we go next, into a world that feels like science fiction, but is happening right now in engineering firms and design labs across the United States. This is a fundamental shift. We're moving from automation that follows a precise set of human-given instructions, pick this box, weld this seam, answer this question, to automation that creates. It explores possibilities. It innovates. Welcome to the world of generative design, our fourth real-world automation task. And it's not just about making things. It's about reimagining how things can be made. Imagine you're a top-tier engineer at a major US automotive company, let's say in Detroit. Your task is to design a tiny, seemingly insignificant part, a seatbelt bracket. It's the metal piece that anchors the seatbelt mechanism to the car's frame. It's a safety-critical component. It has to be immensely strong, capable of withstanding thousands of pounds of force in a crash. But this is the modern auto industry. Every single gram counts. Lighter cars are more fuel efficient, or in the case of electric vehicles, have a longer range. Your job is a paradox. Make it brutally strong, but make it feather-light. For decades, the process was the same. You, the brilliant human engineer, would fire up your computer-aided design or CAD software. You draw a shape based on your experience, your intuition, and your knowledge of physics and materials science. You'd start with a solid block of what you think it should look like. Then you'd run a computer simulation. The simulation would show you stress points in red and areas with little to no stress in cool blue. So you'd go back to your design. You'd shave a little material off the blue areas. You'd reinforce the red areas. You'd run the simulation again. Better. You repeat this process, tweak, simulate, analyze, repeat dozens of times. Each cycle you might shave off a few more grams. It's a painstaking, iterative process, guided entirely by the creativity and limitations of a single human mind. After weeks of work, you arrive at a final design. It's good. It's the product of years of expertise. It's an optimized version of a human idea. Now let's introduce the automation task. Generative design flips that entire process on its head. Instead of telling the computer what to draw, you tell the computer the problem you want to solve. You don't start with the design. You start with rules. You say to the AI, "Here are the 4 bolt holes where this bracket must attach to the car frame. Here is the connection point for the seatbelt mechanism. This part cannot interfere with this space here or that space there. It must withstand a force of 10,000 pounds pulling in this direction. And the one single goal is to use the absolute minimum amount of material possible to achieve this." You give the AI the problem, not the solution, and then you hit go. What happens next is what feels like magic. The AI doesn't just create one design. It doesn't create 10. It creates hundreds, sometimes thousands of design possibilities, all in the time it takes you to go get a cup of coffee. And they look like nothing a human would ever design. They don't have straight lines or clean angles. They look alien. They look organic. Some look like the inside of a bird's bone, with complex web-like internal lattices. Others look like tree roots, growing and branching out only where strength is needed. The AI has explored a vast universe of potential shapes, unbound by human preconceptions of what a bracket should look like. It has only one master, physics. It places material only where the laws of physics dictate it is absolutely necessary, and carves away everything else. This isn't a theoretical concept. General Motors did exactly this. They took a standard human-designed seatbelt bracket, a part they had been optimizing for years. They gave the problem to a generative design AI. The result? The AI-generated design was a single, bizarre-looking, skeletal piece of stainless steel. But when they 3D printed and tested it, the results were staggering. The new part was 40% lighter and 20% stronger than the original human-designed component. Let that sink in. Not a 2 or 3% improvement. 40% lighter. 20% stronger. It was a leap, not a step. An improvement so significant it would have been considered impossible with the traditional design process. The automation task here isn't just designing a part. It's exploring the entire possible solution space for a given engineering problem. The AI acts like a million brilliant engineers, working in parallel, trying out every conceivable idea, no matter how strange, and presenting only the very best options back to its human partner. And that's the key. The human engineer isn't replaced. Their role is elevated. They are no longer the draftsman painstakingly carving digital clay. They are the conductor of a symphony of computational creativity. They set the constraints, they define the problem with wisdom and experience. They look at the thousands of options the AI generates and use their real-world knowledge to decide which one is not only the strongest and lightest, but also the most cost-effective to manufacture, the easiest to install, and the most durable over time. The AI provides the raw, unbridled optimization. The human provides the context, the wisdom, and the final say. It's a partnership, a human-machine collaboration that produces results neither could achieve alone. And this is happening all over the United States. It's not just GM. In the aerospace industry, where every ounce saved is worth thousands of dollars in fuel over the life of an aircraft, companies like Boeing and Airbus are using generative design to create lighter, stronger components for everything from wing structures to cabin partitions. In the medical field, it's being used to design custom orthopedic implants, like hip replacements, that are perfectly tailored to a patient's anatomy, promoting better bone integration and a faster recovery. They are lighter, stronger, and fit better because they are designed by an algorithm that mimics the way bone itself grows, only where it's needed. Think about the implications. We're automating a core component of human ingenuity, the act of invention. By offloading the brute force calculation and exploration of design possibilities to a machine, we are freeing up human engineers to focus on higher-level problems, to ask bigger questions. Instead of asking, "How can I make this bracket 5% lighter?" they can now ask, "Can we combine 5 different components into one single, generatively designed part?" Or, "What if we use a completely new material that the AI suggests is optimal?" This is the silent revolution happening in R&D labs and engineering departments from Silicon Valley to the Rust Belt. It's an automation task that doesn't operate on a factory floor, but inside a supercomputer. It's not replacing the worker who turns the wrench, but augmenting the engineer who dreams up the machine in the first place. It's a tool that allows us to build a stronger, lighter, more efficient world by copying the ultimate engineer, nature itself. We've seen automation manage physical goods in a warehouse and now generate novel designs for the physical world. It's optimizing the tangible. But what happens when this same power of optimization is turned inward? When the task isn't to design a better physical object, but to design a better, more optimized path for something intangible, something like money. What happens when automation isn't just building your car, but managing your entire life savings? That's our final example. And it's one that affects the financial future of millions of Americans every single day. Welcome to the world of automated investing, often called robo-advisors. This is our 5th and final real-world example of an automation task, and it's arguably the one that has most profoundly democratized a once exclusive corner of the American economy. To understand its impact, let's go back just 20 years. Imagine a young professional. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is 28. She has a good job, and she's managed to save up $10,000. She knows she should be investing it for her future, for retirement, but the stock market feels like a secret language spoken in a locked room. The barrier to entry feels impossibly high. So what were her options? She could try to do it herself, spending hundreds of hours trying to learn the difference between a PE ratio and a dividend yield, constantly second-guessing her decisions, and likely making emotional mistakes, buying high out of FOMO and selling low out of panic. Or she could seek out a traditional human financial advisor. She'd have to find one willing to take on a client with a relatively small amount to invest. If she did, she'd sit down in a formal office, fill out paperwork, and have a long conversation about her goals and her tolerance for risk. The advisor would then take that information, go back to their desk, and manually construct a portfolio for her, likely using a handful of mutual funds that their firm preferred. For this service, Sarah would pay a significant fee, often 1 to 2% of her total assets, every single year, regardless of how her investments performed. Plus, the mutual funds themselves had their own internal fees. Those fees, year after year, would act as a powerful drag, a hidden anchor on her long-term growth. This entire process, from the initial consultation to the portfolio construction to the ongoing management, was the manual task. It was time-consuming, expensive, and reserved for those who had already accumulated significant wealth. For millions of Americans like Sarah, serious, disciplined investing was simply out of reach. Now let's fast forward to today. A person just like Sarah discovers a service like Vanguard Personal Advisor, Betterment, or Wealthfront. She pulls out her phone. The wall is gone. The locked room is open. The automation task here is a complex, multi-layered algorithm designed to perform the core functions of a traditional financial advisor, but with the speed, scale, and cost efficiency that only a machine can offer. Let's break down exactly what this automation does. First, the client onboarding and risk assessment. Instead of a face-to-face meeting, Sarah is guided through a sleek, simple online questionnaire. It asks her age, her income, her financial goals. When does she want to retire? Is she saving for a house? And crucially, it assesses her risk tolerance. It uses carefully designed behavioral questions. For example, if your portfolio lost 20% of its value in a month, what would you do? Would you sell? Hold? Buy more? Her answers are instantly fed into an algorithm. This isn't a human advisor's gut feeling about Sarah's personality. It is a data-driven calculation that assigns her a specific risk score. This single step, which takes about 10 minutes, automates hours of initial client meetings and analysis. Second is the portfolio construction. This is the real magic. Based on her risk score and goals, the algorithm instantly designs a globally diversified portfolio for her. It doesn't try to pick the next hot stock. Instead, it uses Nobel Prize-winning financial theory, modern portfolio theory to be exact. The algorithm automatically selects a mix of low-cost, highly diversified exchange-traded funds, or ETFs. It might allocate 60% to US stocks, 20% to international stocks, and 20% to bonds. It's a portfolio built for the long term, based on decades of market data and academic research, and it's constructed for Sarah in less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee. Third is the automation of discipline. This is perhaps the most valuable function. Sarah can set up an automatic transfer from her bank account every 2 weeks, right after she gets paid. Let's say it's $200. The moment that money hits her investment account, the algorithm automatically invests it across her entire portfolio, buying tiny fractional shares of all the different ETFs to maintain her target allocation. This is called dollar cost averaging, a time-tested strategy for building wealth. But the automation removes the two biggest enemies of the average investor: emotion and inertia. Sarah doesn't have to remember to invest. She doesn't have to log in and face the temptation to time the market. The machine just does it for her, consistently, unemotionally, relentlessly. Fourth is the task of automatic rebalancing. Over time, some of Sarah's investments will grow faster than others. Her stocks might do really well, and her portfolio might drift from its target 80-20 stock-to-bond ratio to something like 85-15. This means she's now taking on more risk than she originally intended. A human advisor would need to periodically review her account, calculate the drift, and then manually sell some stocks and buy some bonds to get back in balance. It's a critical task, but one that is often neglected. The robo-advisor's algorithm, however, monitors her portfolio constantly. The moment it drifts beyond a predetermined threshold, it automatically triggers trades to bring it back into alignment. It sells a little bit of what has done well, selling high, and buys a little of what has underperformed, buying low. This is the core discipline of smart investing, executed with surgical precision by a machine, without any fees for making the trades. And finally, for those with larger, taxable accounts, there's an even more sophisticated automation task: tax loss harvesting. This is a strategy that used to be exclusively for the very wealthy. The algorithm constantly scans the account for investments that are temporarily down in value. It can automatically sell that position to harvest the loss, which Sarah can then use on her tax return to offset capital gains, or even a portion of her regular income. The algorithm then immediately buys a very similar, but not identical, replacement fund to keep her portfolio's allocation intact. It's an incredibly complex maneuver that can add significant value over time, and it's now being executed automatically every single day by a machine for everyday investors. So what is the result of automating this entire process? The cost plummets. Instead of paying 1 or 2% a year, Sarah is now paying something closer to 0.25%. On a $100,000 portfolio, that's a difference between paying $2,000 a year versus just $250. Over a 30-year investing career, that difference in fees can compound into tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in her pocket, not someone else's. This automation task didn't just make an old process a little bit better or a little bit cheaper. It fundamentally rewired the entire landscape of wealth management in the United States. It took a system defined by exclusivity, high fees, and human gatekeepers, and turned it into one defined by accessibility, low cost, and data-driven efficiency. It has empowered a generation of Americans to take control of their financial future in a way that was previously unimaginable. It shows that automation isn't just about physical robots building physical things. It's about sophisticated algorithms taking on complex, knowledge-based work, and in doing so, unlocking opportunities for millions. We've seen automation in the warehouse, on the farm, in our hospitals, on our roads, and now managing our life savings. 5 distinct tasks, 5 different industries, all transformed by the same fundamental principle. Identifying a repetitive, rule-based process and teaching a machine to do it better, faster, and more efficiently than a human ever could. But this journey also raises a crucial question. As these systems become more and more integrated into the fabric of our economy and our lives, what does it mean for us? What is the future of human work in a world run by automation? It's the single most important question of our time, and the one that sparks the most fear. We see the headlines, we hear the predictions, and a cold anxiety starts to creep in. Are the robots coming for my job? It's an image straight out of science fiction. Gleaming machines on an assembly line, dispassionate algorithms in an office, rendering human workers obsolete. And after seeing the power of automation in farming, in our homes, in finance, and even in the complex world of logistics, that fear can feel incredibly real. Feels new. It feels unprecedented. But it's not. This feeling, this deep-seated anxiety about technology replacing human labor, is a story as old as technology itself. In the early 19th century, a group of English textile workers known as the Luddites famously smashed the new automated looms that threatened their livelihoods. They weren't just angry, they were terrified. They saw a future where their skills, honed over a lifetime, were worthless. And in the short term, they were right. The transition was brutal for many. But what happened in the long run? The cost of cloth plummeted. Clothing, once a luxury, became affordable for the masses. This created a massive new market, which in turn created new jobs, not just in factories but in design, in marketing, in transportation, in retail. Entire industries were born from the efficiency of that one automation. The Luddites feared the end of work. What they were actually witnessing was the painful birth of a new kind of work. We saw it again with the rise of the automobile, which decimated the horse and buggy industry but created millions of jobs in manufacturing, road construction, gas stations, motels, and the entire suburban economy. We saw it with the personal computer, which eliminated armies of typists and clerks but created the entire digital world we now live in, with jobs like software developer, data analyst, and social media manager, professions that would have sounded like gibberish just 50 years ago. History teaches us a consistent lesson. Technology doesn't destroy work, it redefines it. Automation is a force that relentlessly pushes humanity up the value chain. It takes over the tasks that are repetitive, predictable, and programmable. And in doing so, it forces us to cultivate the skills that are uniquely, profoundly human. So what are those skills? What is left for us when the machines can calculate faster, lift heavier, and analyze more data than any human ever could? The answer lies in the things that cannot be easily converted into ones and zeros. It's creativity. Not just artistic creativity, but the innovative spark that sees a new business opportunity, that designs a more elegant solution to a problem, that reimagines how a system could work. It's complex problem solving, the ability to face a novel, unstructured challenge with no pre-existing data set and chart a path forward. It's critical thinking, the wisdom to question the output of an algorithm, to understand its limitations, and to make a strategic decision based on incomplete information and human intuition. And perhaps most importantly, it's emotional intelligence. It's empathy. The ability to lead a team, to mentor a colleague, to negotiate a delicate deal, to care for a patient, to understand a customer's frustration and make them feel heard. These are not soft skills. In the age of automation, they are the critical skills. No machine can replicate the genuine connection and trust built between two people. The future of work isn't a battle of humans versus machines. It's a partnership. We're not being replaced, we're being augmented. Think of it as the ultimate tool. The farmer from our first example isn't replaced by the automated tractor. He's elevated. He's no longer just a laborer driving in straight lines. He's a data scientist, an agronomist, a fleet manager, using technology to make smarter decisions, increase his yield, and manage his land with a precision his grandfather could never have dreamed of. The financial advisor isn't replaced by a robo-advisor. She uses it as a co-pilot. The algorithm can run 1 million simulations and optimize a portfolio in seconds, freeing her up to do what she does best. Understand her clients' life goals, their fears about retirement, their dreams for their children's future, and build a strategy that's not just mathematically sound, but humanly sound. This is the new paradigm. Human in the loop. The human sets the strategy, defines the goal, and makes the final judgment call. The automation executes the tactical, repetitive work with superhuman speed and accuracy. This synergy is where the magic happens. It allows us to amplify our own abilities, to offload the drudgery, and to focus our finite time and energy on the highest level work. Now we have to be honest. This transition will not be easy. Just like with the Industrial Revolution, there will be disruption. Some jobs, particularly those based on highly repetitive physical or cognitive tasks, will decline. And that creates a real and significant challenge for individuals and for society as a whole. The idea that you can learn one trade and practice it for 40 years is over. The new reality demands something different. Adaptability. The most valuable skill you can possess in the 21st century is the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. It means embracing lifelong education, not as a chore, but as a fundamental part of your career. It means being curious, seeking out new skills, and seeing change not as a threat, but as an opportunity to grow. Our education systems will need to adapt, shifting from rote memorization to teaching critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. And as a society, we'll need to have serious conversations about how to support people through these transitions. But if we can meet this challenge, the future that automation unlocks is breathtaking. Imagine a world where the most dangerous and physically taxing jobs are performed by robots, freeing humans from harm. Imagine medical diagnostic AIs catching diseases earlier and more accurately than ever before, allowing doctors to focus on treatment and patient care. Imagine scientific research accelerated 1,000-fold as AI sift through massive datasets to find patterns that lead to new discoveries in medicine, climate science, and energy. This is not a future where humanity is idle and purposeless. It's a future where we are freed from the constraints of mundane labor to pursue higher goals. It's a future that could unlock a renaissance of creativity, entrepreneurship, and scientific discovery. The technologies we've explored in this series are not the end of the story of human work. They are the start of its most exciting chapter yet. The question is not whether automation is coming. It's here. It's in our fields, our homes, our warehouses, and our wallets. The real question is, what will we do with it? Will we fear it and resist it like the Luddites? Or will we see it for what it is, the most powerful tool humanity has ever created, and use it to build a world that is more productive, more creative, and ultimately more human? The future isn't written in code. It's written by the choices we make today. The challenge isn't to compete with the machine. It's to become the one thing a machine can never be: a better human.